Chapter 2 of The Lark by E. Nesbit. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Jane Quested was a schoolgirl when the war began, and she was a schoolgirl when it ended. So was her cousin Lucilla. Explanations are tiresome but inevitable. Even on the stage, people draw their chairs together, and one tells the other, for your benefit, what both of them must know perfectly well, beginning, probably, "It was just such a stormy night as this 20 years ago, my dear wife, when that mysterious stranger," or "I often think of the secret marriage of the Duchess when you and I her butler and you her maid, were sworn by her Grace to eternal secrecy. The circumstances, you will remember, are these," and then he tells you all about it, as I will now tell you. So let us face the explanations, which are really short and simple. Jane Quested's father, who was also Lucilla's uncle, was in India. He had nothing but his pay, which he found insufficient. A great-aunt had left Jane quite a pleasant little fortune. Nothing dazzling, but enough to keep the wolf from the door of a reasonably prosperous home. This little fortune, in charge of a trustee, a solicitor, was tied up and secured by all those arts and crafts which lawyers could devise and execute to protect it from impecunious fathers. It was to be Jane's when she reached the age of reason, as defined by law. To Lucilla, the same relative had left the same competence. When war broke out, the cousins were at school in Devonshire, and to both father and trustee it seemed desirable that they should stay there for the duration of the war. The father had no wish that his daughter should undertake a long and perilous journey merely to embarrass him in his Eastern housekeeping. And to the trustee, school seemed, for 1,000 reasons, the best place for Lucilla and Jane. So at school they had stayed, and knitted socks and sweaters for the Army and Navy, and heard selections from the papers read aloud by careful governesses, seeing and hearing as little of the war as any English-speaking young women in the world. Of course they thrilled at our disasters, triumphed in our successes, pitied and prayed for the poor soldiers and sailors, execrated our enemies, and idealized our allies. But it was all to them very far away. It hardly came near them, never touched them, till Jane's father died like a hero in Mesopotamia, leaving her his heroism to glorify her sorrow. Even then it was only as though an echo of the thunder of the waves of war had somehow reached the quiet, ordered house in Devonshire. When the war ended, Jane was 19. She felt incredibly grown up. For 2 years she and Lucilla had devoted the whole of their fortnightly letters to their trustee, now their guardian, to entreaties to be allowed to leave school. "And he never takes the least notice," Jane said to Lucilla, on the first day of the summer holidays. "He just sends boxes of chalks, and bottles of scent, and embroidered handkerchiefs, and books and things, and tells us to be good girls, and complete our studies and fit ourselves for the battle of life. Not much battle, thank goodness. I heard the head once asking Mrs. Graves, in that 'life is real, life is earnest' voice of hers, what she thought was the most beautiful thing in the world. And Gravy said, 'The most beautiful thing in the world? A small but settled income, I think, and no work.' The head was sick." "I don't mind work so much," said Lucilla, going on with her knitting, "so long as you don't have to do the sort of work other people say you must. If I had to do this, I should hate it." She heaved up the lumpish grey mass on her lap. "As it is, I like it." "I don't like anything here," said Jane. "We're wasting our youth, our precious golden unreturning youth. I want to do things and see the world." "Please, miss," said a maid at the door, "the post is in, and you're both to go and see her. I hope it ain't bad trouble," she added sympathetically, "and afterwards, if there's anything I can do—" "There's something up, miss. There was a letter for you, and she kep it back at breakfast, and one for you, miss, too. It isn't safe to let 'em write by post, it really isn't." "To let who write, Gladys?" "The young men as you walks out with," Gladys explained kindly. "At least, of course, you young ladies don't walk out, being kept alive in a cage, so to speak. But I expect it's the same at heart. I gets the confectioner's girl to take in my letters. She added with simple pride, " It's best to be on the safe side in a house full of old cats like this here. Is he dark or fair, miss ? Yours, I mean," she suddenly asked Jane. "My what?" " Your young man." " I don't know," said Jane. " I haven't got a young man yet." " Then the letter can't be from him," said Gladys with irresistible logic. " No, it certainly can't. But it might be from somebody else. In fact, it must. I wonder how long she means to keep us in suspense. When are we to go and see her ? After dinner ? Oh no. She is looking forward to the blow up she's getting ready for you, to give her an appetite for dinner. Do you know, miss, I shouldn't wonder if it was a nonymous letter from a true friend, or one who has only seen you in church but wants to know you better, or a respectable admirer who picked up your umbrella Thursday week as you got off the tram." "Oh, I saw him, miss. It was my afternoon out." " I always enjoy your conversation, Gladys," said Lucilla gravely. " But have you no work to do this morning ?"" Oh, very well." The round pink face of Gladys clouded over and she tossed her head. " Just as you please, miss, I'm sure. I can take a hint as well as anybody. I never intrude, and I never say a word more than needful. If my room's preferred to my company I never linger. But oh, I say, miss, have either of you noticed the new baker's boy ? He's just like a picture. Blue eyes and golden curls, 6 feet high and 4 medals, and he can talk French. He says lots of it. I don't know exactly what it means, but he has such expressing eyes." " Gladys, begone !" cried Jane. " But before you go just tell us when we're to go to the Head." " I've told you a dozen times, if once," said Gladys reproachfully, "that you're not to lose a moment. I shouldn't even wait to comb my hair or powder my nose if I was you, miss. She's waiting for you in her own room, and I was to tell you to go down at once. My advice is, you go and get it over. Because why—" They found the Headmistress in her sitting room, the room so well adapted to the beguiling of parents, the room so tasteful and yet so learned looking. Books, flowers, autotypes from Watts and Burne-Jones, busts of Mozart and Socrates, all kinds of cultivated tastes catered for, as Jane used to say. The Head was not looking pleased. She held in her hand 3 letters and said, "Be seated," without looking at her pupils. Then she tapped one of the letters, the open one, on the neat fumed oak writing table before her, looked out of her window and asked, "Had you any idea of this?" "What?" Jane asked. "Of what?" corrected the Head mechanically. "Perhaps you had better read your letters." She handed a square hand-made envelope to each. There was the sound of torn and rustling paper. The canary in the window rustled sympathetically among his sand and groundsel. "Well," said the Head, "I suppose your letter contains the same news as mine." "I suppose so, Miss James," said Jane. "Mine— but you'd better read it, perhaps." Miss James read it aloud. "Dear Jane, please take the 12 o'clock train to London on Wednesday. You will be met at Paddington. I have made all arrangements for you and enclosed notes for expenses. I am writing to Miss James, and no doubt she will be willing to accept a term's fee instead of a term's notice. Bring all your luggage. You will not return to school. Yours very truly, Arthur Panton." "Mine's the same," said Lucilla. "And you had no idea of this?" "No," said both the girls. "It is very sudden," said the Head. "I feel it very much." "Cheap," said the canary. "We should have had to leave some time," said Lucilla. "You are now," began Miss James, leaning back comfortably, "going out into the world. You will no longer have the guiding hand, the mature mind, the affectionate heart of your teachers to rely on. You will be free." "Sweet, sweet, sweet," said the canary. "From all the restraints of school. Let it be your care," Miss James went on, and we need not follow her further. Every girl who has left school knows exactly what she said. The last words were all that mattered. "The matron will pack your boxes to day. You had better assist her, and never forget in the rush of the battle of life that you are St. Olave's girls. Let that thought be your shield and your banner. be proud of the school, and let all your actions be such as shall make the school proud of you." "Yes, Miss James," said the two girls meekly. Outside her door they fell into each other's arms, breathless with whispered ecstasies. "How quite too perfectly ripping," said Jane. "To-morrow," said Lucilla. "It's like something in a book. A bolt from the blue." "A bolt from the blue stockings," said Jane. "Come away, or she'll catch us. I feel as if someone had left me a fortune. I feel as if I were going to elope." It was not till most of their books and work and little possessions had been collected and set ready for the packing that they were sufficiently sobered to question the future. "I wonder where we're going to live, though," Lucilla said over the pile of books she was carrying. "What does that matter," said Jane, "so long as it's not here? When persons escape from the Bastille they never ask where they're going to live. With him, perhaps. Keep his house and entertain his clients. I say, Lucilla, let's keep a salon and make dear Guardian's invitations the most sought after in London." "I don't think," said Lucilla. "I expect he's engaged a tabby to chaperone us." "I hope she's an engaging tabby." "Oh, don't let's bother," said Jane, turning a drawer full of ribbons and gloves onto the floor. "Help me to sort these. I nearly cried yesterday when all the other girls kept going away in cab after cab. To say nothing of the motors, and we left behind, my dear Emmy in Norway on her wedding tour, and nobody to lend us a helping hand. And now ours very truly, Arthur Panton, has turned up trumps. May the choicest blessings— Look out, those chalks are sticky. Don't let them loose among my collars." Glad as wild birds released from their cage, the cousins parted from Miss James. Their faces were serious and respectful, but each heart danced like the sea on a breezy sunny morning. The world was before them. School was behind. They were travelling to London alone, no chaperone. They were no longer schoolgirls. They were young women. The matron saw them off at the station, a kind, stupid woman, but not stupid enough for it to be necessary for them to maintain the serious and respectful mask before her. "I wish we'd seen Gladys to say good-bye," they said. "You might give her this for us." They pressed half-crowns on the matron. Poor old Gladys, she— They were getting into the train when a clatter of clumsy feet made them turn. It was Gladys, but panting and almost in tears. "Thought I'd missed it," she exclaimed, thrusting a large box into the carriage. "It's a parting present, miss, for both of you." "We shall prize it forever, whatever it is," said Lucilla. "I got it from me brother," said Gladys. "That's why I'm so late. It's just like him to live the other end of the town. I do wish you wasn't going. I don't know whatever I shall do now you're gone. For of all the old—" "Shish," said Jane. "Oh, I beg your pardon, Miss Blake. I didn't see you were there." "Oh, good-bye, Miss Jane, dear, and you too, Miss Lucy, I'm sure. Good-bye." Miss Blake pulled her back. A porter banged the door and the train moved off. They waved hands from the window till the station was out of sight. Then, withdrawing their heads from the window, they stumbled over Gladys's present. "Let's see what it is," said Jane. It was a fine black rabbit in a home-made hutch, not new. "Well, perhaps it's lucky," said Jane. "Like black cats, you know. We'll call it Othello." Poor old Gladys. It was a delicious journey. The wildest speculations concerning their future brightened every mile of it. At Paddington they were met by a sour-looking man who announced himself as Mr. Panton's head clerk. "But how do you know it's us?" Jane asked. "I've been shown your photos," he said. "This way to the car." It was a beautiful car. Behind it stood a taxi for their luggage. "I feel like a duchess," said Jane in the car. "Your hat's all on one side," said Lucilla, beside her. "That will be all, then?" said the clerk at the window. "This is the address," and he thrust a paper at them. "The man knows where to go. And this," he said finally, dropping something cold into Lucilla's hand, "is the key. Drive on." And the car slid out of the station. "The key? Whatever of?" Lucilla asked. "Heaven alone knows. Perhaps we are being kidnapped." "Oh, Lucy, how frightfully exciting. But what's it the key of?" a house, unless it's the key of a mausoleum like Emmeline's great-aunt battered at the door of. But why a key? Oh, Jane, suppose that dusty person at the station didn't really recognize us? Suppose he thought we were somebody else and this is somebody else's key? Or suppose we're really being kidnapped, held for ransom, you know, till our guardian shells out. The key, it's so heavy, it might be the key of a church. Whatever else it is, it's the key of our future. Don't let's get fluttered, Lucy, like two silly schoolgirls. Where's the paper with the address on it? They found it on the floor among their rugs and bags and umbrellas. Lucilla unfolded it. What does it say? Jane asked. It says Hope Cottage, adding the names of a road and a suburb. There, said Jane, that's all serene. It's Guardy's handwriting right enough. It's not a bad hand. Curious we've never seen him. He has very good taste in chalks and books. I daresay he's quite a decent sort. I wonder if he'll let us travel by ourselves. Abroad, I mean. Italy, said Lucilla. Egypt, said Jane. Greece. Mexico. Spain. Samoa. But about this key, Lucilla began again. But Jane stopped her with a squeak of triumph. I know, this car is for us, and this is the key of the garage. How unspeakably splendid. Our guardian is 1 in a million. I wonder how much money Aunt Lucilla did leave us. It must be an awful lot if it runs to a car like this. And all the time the car was worming its swift gliding way through strange crowded streets, between unfamiliar rows of gloomy houses and brilliant shops. It crossed the Thames, and the roads became sordid. It left the sordidness behind and passed among villas whose gardens grew larger as they slipped past. Then came trees, fields, more villas. It's almost real country, said Lucilla. I hope Hope Cottage is bowered in roses and jasmine. It must be a big cottage to have a garage. I should like it thatched, said Jane, but I suppose that's too much to ask. More big gardens, a road that was almost a lane, with fields on one side and cabbage fields on the other. Some half-built houses, some trees, another cabbage field, and then suddenly the motor stopped, purring, before a little yellow brick house as square as the rabbit hutch itself and almost as small. The chauffeur got down and opened the door. He had quite a nice face, Lucilla thought. This is Hope Cottage, he said, and indeed a black inscription on its white gate said so in plain capitals. They gathered their belongings together and got out. The chauffeur latched the gate for them and they passed up a tiled path to a narrow green door. "Oh, Jane, this can't be right," Lucilla whispered. "Where's the key?" said Jane. A large keyhole invited it. It turned easily, and the door opening showed a vision of a narrow carpeted passage and steeply rising stairs. "Good afternoon, miss," said the chauffeur. "The taxi is paid for." "But here, I say, stop a minute," said Lucilla. "Sorry, another appointment," he said. "You'll find it's quite all right. This is Hope Cottage," and he turned to his machine, still pulsing loudly. "No, you don't," cried Jane, and springing to the gate caught him by the arm. A look of positive terror came over his face. "My dear young lady," he said, "surely you won't detain me by force." "Yes, I will," said Jane. "You can't go off and leave us like this. Mr. Panton told me to bring you here, miss. I assure you it's all quite as he arranged. You need be under no apprehension." "I'm not," she said shortly. "But I'm not going to let you go till you've helped to get the boxes in. How on earth do you suppose that taxi man's going to get all those boxes up these stairs? Or do you expect us to do it?" "I beg your pardon," he said. "I never thought of that." "Of course I will," and he turned to the waiting taxi and began to haul at a suitcase. "You must take them all upstairs. There's no room in this passage for luggage." "Certainly," said the chauffeur. "Please don't worry. I'll manage everything." He did. When motor and taxi had died away into silence, Jane said, "That chauffeur was a gentleman. Did you notice his voice? And towards the end he quite forgot to call us miss. I thought he had an awfully nice face, didn't you?" "We've got something to think of besides chauffeurs' faces," said Lucilla. "There are no shops for miles, I expect, and I'm absolutely starving. Perhaps there's something to eat in the house." "Not likely," said Lucilla. "Well, let's look over the house. It's no use standing in the passage all night saying how hungry you are," said Jane impatiently. There were 2 little sitting rooms, one on each side of the front door. The first was furnished primly in Middle Victorian walnut and faded satin. It had a piano with a fluted yellow silk front, and glass lustres to the mantelpiece. A vase of roses stood on a table in the window. "Nothing to eat here," said Lucilla bitterly. But Jane had opened the door of the other room. "Oh, Lucy," she called, "come here." The second room was a little dining room, with mahogany chiffonier and maple-framed engravings of the Monarch of the Glen, the Maid of Saragossa, and Bolton Abbey in the olden time. In the middle of the room stood a table, almost it seemed to beckon, with its white cloth, its gleams of silver and glass. "Cold chicken," said Lucilla. "Salad, raspberries, tea things, milk, bread, butter, jam, everything. Oh, and cream. Oh, Jane." "Here's a letter," said Jane. It wasn't really a letter, just a slip of paper in the well-known handwriting of Mr. Arthur Panton. "Unavoidably called away. Please make yourselves completely at home. A.P. P.S. Kettle and spirit stove in the kitchen. Tea in caddy in chiffonier." The 2 girls looked at each other. "Well," they said simultaneously, and Lucilla added, "Never mind about tea. Can you carve a chicken?" "I can try." "Try then, in the name of the Prophet," said Lucilla. "I can cut bread. If you can't carve, chop. Our lives are saved." "I prefer the liver wing. I've never had one, but the very important people in books always have the liver wing. You can have all the legs. Oh, our guardian is really a gem. Isn't it the loveliest supper? He must be a man of perfect taste and sensibility. Pass the salad, please. This doesn't look like a wing, it looks all bone. Give me some off the top. Yes, that white part. No, I don't want to wash my hands first. I don't want to do anything but eat for quite a long time." When they had eaten, they went all over the little house and found a tiny kitchen and scullery, and upstairs 3 small bedrooms choked with their luggage. From the windows they saw a large garden, painted with many bright flowers and rich with the promise of fruit trees. "It's rather a dear little bandbox," said Lucilla. "I wonder if our mysterious guardian will come tonight or tomorrow." When they had explored every hole and corner and shelf and cupboard, and had tried the piano and gone all over the garden, they sat down to wait. "We won't go to bed till 12, said Jane, "in case he comes. And if he doesn't, it will be rather a lark to sit up till 12 anyway." But by 12 o'clock he had not come, so they went to bed. They were roused at 8 o'clock by a knocking at the door, which repeated itself as they hastily dressed, after shouting "Coming!" through the window. Through the glass of the hall door they saw a manly figure. "Here he is," they both said, and so he was, but he was only the postman. He had one letter, a very large, fat, registered one. It was addressed to Miss Jane Quested and Miss Lucilla Cray, and they both signed the green receipt for it. "It's his writing," said Lucilla, as the postman stumped away. "You open it." The stout envelope yielded several long, legal-looking papers and a bank passbook, also a letter. "Dear Jane and Lucilla, enclosed with other papers of less interest are the title deeds of Hope Cottage, which is the property of Lucilla. Also a bank book for Jane. I have paid £500 into Jane's account at Barclay's Bank. This, my dear Jane and my dear Lucilla, is, I very much fear, all that you will ever see of the fortune bequeathed to you by your late aunt. I have been unfortunate in speculation, and I have decided, rather than face the bankruptcy and other courts, to fly the scene. I am leaving you the house, which I cannot take with me, and £500, which I hope may enable you to start in some business that will keep you. A dressmaking business, horticulture, a bonnet shop. Duchesses do it, you know, nowadays. I can ill spare the £500, but I cannot bear to leave you penniless. and I feel that I am the most unfortunate of men in having to leave you at all. But I have no alternative. You have often begged me to take you away from school. Well, now I have done it. And to let you lead your own lives. Well, lead them. And accept the warmest wishes for your success in every department of life from your unfortunate and absolutely dished and done for trustee, Arthur Panton." The girls looked at each other. "Whatever shall we do?" said Lucilla breathlessly. "Well, first of all," said Jane, very pale but steady, "I think we ought to do what we ought to have done last night." "What's that?" "Feed that rabbit. There's no reason why he should starve." Chapter 3